Now that our artists are logging their time, let's dig in to see how we can track this against our bids. In other words, bids versus actuals. Remember in the importing topic, we had imported our VFX breakdown, which included our bids. So all of our bid information on each task already exists in Shotgun. If we are missing any or need to update a bid from a change order, we can add them in at any point by just editing the bid field on the task. To compare bids against time logged from our task page, we'll need a couple of things: the bid and the time logged fields. Let's then reveal the time logged % of bid and the time logged over under bid. The % of bid shows us our bids versus actuals as a percentage, while the over under shows us the delta between the two values, both helpful when comparing bids versus actuals. We can see here that anything green is a value coming in matching or under the bid, while anything in red is flagged as coming in over the bid. We are currently seeing this information on each task group by link, which are the shots in this case, but we'd also like to digest this information by sequence. So we head to Advanced Grouping, and group by sequence, and then by link. Then we right-click on the bid column and select Summary, Show Page Column Summaries, Sum. Now, let's look into comparing field values. Let's say we have different artist skill levels that we'd like to measure with our task bids. At our studio, we have senior, mid, and junior artist level skills. We can calculate the task bid multiplied by the skill level by creating a field called Skill Level Unit First. We'll name the field, make it a float type field, specify the number of decimal places where the default is the format specified in Site Preferences, and we'll leave a description as our key. And then we'll fill in some values. Okay, so now that we have our skill level unit and we've filled in some values, let's create a calculated field called Skill Level Bid. From here, we take the field code for bid and multiply that by the field code for the newly created skill level unit field. We can see that the output format will be duration, which is great. For summary, we'll specify sum so that we can see the sum in the page column summaries. We'll add a description and create the field. Now we have a representation on bids that we can expect based on skill level, and we'll see the column summary for each of these totals. Since we're also tracking the estimated cost per man-hour on task, which is just a currency field, we also want to multiply this by the bid so that we can see the total cost per task. And as you may have guessed, yes, we're using dummy data here for the estimated cost. We'll get this estimation by creating another calculated field called Estimated Task Cost. And enter the formula. We'll use 2 hours, which will handle the conversion from days to hours. And then we'll add our field codes by copying and pasting them. We see our output format will be currency, which is exactly what we want. We'll set the summary to sum again, and we'll add a description, estimated task cost multiplied by bid. Let's also adjust the permissions from here so only admins can see this field since financial data is sometimes sensitive. Then we can see our totals for every shot and asset that is linked to a task via the page column summary. And we can even see the total for all of our tasks we have in the Signal project. And now that we have the estimated cost per task, we also want to show the progress on this cost. In other words, the estimated cost multiplied by the time logged to show us what's over budget. So we'll copy and paste the fields again and make sure the output is currency. This will show us where we're going over, and we can set up a page rule to further highlight which tasks are going over budget and by what amount, based on the estimated cost. We have the estimated costs in US currency, but now we want to convert this to pounds. So we can create another calculated field to show this conversion. Note that conversion rates fluctuate, but we can always go back in to configure this field periodically. So far, we've calculated fields on the task level. But now, we want to sum up the total estimated cost for each shot and asset. Let's switch gears a little and talk about how we can use a query field to display this kind of information. From a shots page, we create a new query type field called Estimated Shot Cost. Since we're querying the sum of the estimated task cost for all tasks that are linked to the shots, we can select the task entity and show tasks that are linked to the current shot. Note that we can add additional criteria in the query, like excluding tasks with a particular status, but we'll leave this as is. Now, we'll summarize the estimated task cost on task and calculate the sum. Next, we'll give it a description, estimated cost of all tasks linked to shots, and create the field. Now we can see the total cost per shot on a shots page. Then we can activate page summaries to see the total for all shots on Signal. We can create these types of query fields on any other entity that has tasks, like assets and levels, or that are linked to entities that have tasks, like spots. So to recap the calculated fields we created on tasks, first, we created a skill level bid, which equated to the task bid multiplied by the skill level unit. This will help us measure our bids against senior, mid, and junior level artists. Then, we estimated our task cost by converting our task bids to hours, and then multiplying that by the estimated cost per man-hour, which is a currency field we already had. And then, we wanted to see where we were going over budget and by what amount. So we took our time logged over under bid, converted that to hours, and then multiplied that by our estimated cost per man-hour. Lastly, we converted our estimated task cost from dollars to pounds by multiplying the estimated task cost by the conversion rate at the time. Then, to sum up the total estimated cost on the shot level, we created a query field on shots that displays the sum of the estimated cost on tasks that are linked to each shot. Later in the series, we'll dive into designing a page and graphing bids versus actuals with production insights.